If you're a fan of Neo Noir or you're really curious about a really sensationalized version of a tragically and unfortunately unsolved crime, then today's book, The Black Dahlia by James Elroy, just might be for you. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Dunn. Today's book was published in 1987. It's actually the first book in a four-book series called the LA Quartet, the most famous of those four books being LA Confidential, which came out in the 1990s. The backdrop of this book is a famous unsolved crime. In the 1940s, an individual named Elizabeth Short, she was tragically found mutilated, all sorts of just terrible. Go look it up if you want to know more about what exactly made this crime so famous, and a big part of that, of course, being the way the corpse was when it was found. And she received the eponymous title, The Black Dahlia. This book follows two of the detectives that are supposedly involved in trying to solve that crime, and it's actually narrated by one of them, Bucky, and his partner, Lee. And the two have an interesting history. They both seem to have had a fair amount of corruption in their life. Well, both of them are boxers, but as Bucky was trying to make a name for himself, he actually ended up throwing one of his boxing matches so that he could pay for some kind of long-term care for his father. And then you find on the flip side, his partner Lee, who is actually the one that he had fought in that match that he threw, Lee also has a fair amount of his own demons, which he's dealing with. And that's actually the heart of this book, is a lot of the inner issues as well as external conflicts that these individuals have and the extremes that they go through to deal with that. The things to enjoy about this book would be that it is heavily researched, especially when it comes to the language and characterization and depiction, not just of these individuals, but the larger society that they live within. And then, of course, most famously, the fact that they're police. It's a discussion of what police work looked like and, of course, what kind of corruption was going on in LA in the middle of the 20th century. If that's the type of thing that appeals to you, especially the language being used, then this book is right up your alley. However, I can't say that I would recommend this to most people for a variety of reasons. Um, First of all, I think Neo Noir is a very niche category. I think, understandably, most people aren't going to like Neo Noir, regardless of whether it's this or another Neo Noir film, the Maltese Falcon or Chinatown. I mean, I think that's a genre that's not going to appeal to everyone, and that's fine. So I think that's one thing that might be off-putting to some people. Another big thing is it's incredibly graphic. I mean, very graphic. A matter of fact, the Black Dahlia, I already mentioned that when her body was found, it had been, I mean, beyond mutilated. All sorts of terrible stuff had been done to it. But that being said, that description is like the least graphic thing in the whole book. I mean, he's incredibly graphic about everything from violence to sex to the way he talks about people. Of course, it's set in the 1940s, and so the language about race is going to be problematic, to say the least. And so that's one thing that I think some people might find challenging. Another thing that may not be for you is the fact that this is a totally unsolved mystery. I'm sure there's plenty of books that you could go read. And this tries to, I don't want to say solve that mystery per se. It's up to you whether you actually want to read the book. But I feel like it tries to give it a few dimensions that are just inauthentic to the actual case. And the fact that it's based on a real case, I don't know why, but I just kind of struggle with that. Maybe it's because I already didn't really care for the book. It was a bit of a challenge for me to finish. So I don't know how many people I would recommend this to. I would recommend it to people that do like Neo Noir, and I would recommend it to people that are not going to have a problem with those things that I previously mentioned. I suspect that you could appreciate what is an incredibly well-written story, especially when it comes to trying to get into the individual minds. There's a lot of discussion of the psychology of the narrator, and there's a lot of discussion of just larger issues that not just the narrator, but any individual could have. Questions of obsession, questions of the lengths that people go to try and get what they feel like is necessary or what they think they deserve. Well, that's it. That's my review. Sorry, guys. This one wasn't very long. I think it's kind of hard for me to give a long review when I really didn't like the book. Now, I can absolutely see parts of the book that have great value, and I can see why he is a highly well-regarded author, and I do think that there are things to be impressed by it. That being said, I also think that there's a lot that could turn people away. And so it just may not be for you, and that's fine. But if you have a different opinion, especially if you liked it, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I know this book is very old at this point, but I'd still like to see if anyone had any thoughts on the Black Dahlia. I don't know if I will be continuing any more in this series, but we'll see. And if I do, I of course will be letting you know what I think about that. And of course, please like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Thank you for watching Spencer Reads Everything. And until next time, keep those pages turning.